So in a previous video, which I'll leave linked in the eye above, I spoke about why Ederson from Atalanta would be my top target for United's midfield this summer. However, due to his likely price tag of between 45 to 50 million pounds, we should at least consider a cheaper stylistic alternative. And I think I have someone who could be available for probably between 15 to about 18 million pounds. And that's Nice's 25-year-old Algerian, 18M Ederson, who I did make a video about maybe last year I think it was, but I don't think I've ever seen him mentioned with a big move. But once you see some clips of him, I break down why his skill set suits what Manchester United need, and we look at his FB ref report, I think you'll consider him at least a decent cheaper alternative to Ederson. Now I should say that this transfer would depend on Ineos actually proving they have the best in class at the club, because they wanted to sign Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice in the summer, but weren't able to do it because of rules around transfers between clubs under the same ownership, which would seem to rule out this transfer completely. But when you think about RB Salzburg and RB Leipzig routinely doing deals with each other, as well as Manchester City and other City Group owned clubs as well, alongside the fact that Ineos should have sorted all this out before even buying United, and now have owned United for over a year, so if they can't find a workaround for these sort of transfers, it's solely down to Ineos' own incompetence when compared to the likes of Red Bull or the City Group. So for this transfer to take place, we will have to assume that Ineos actually set up their club ownership like Red Bull and the City Group, which I wouldn't put any money on, but let's just go with this assumption. Why do I think 18M Ederson would be a viable alternative to Ederson? Well, before I break that down, a quick reminder, if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They've got a variety of different current season and retro shirts, as well as Manchester United jerseys going all the way back to the early 90s. Depending on where you live, you can get 7 to 12 day delivery time, as well as a 30-day money back guarantee. But if you want to get in contact to check any of the details, they have got their WhatsApp and email on the site. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you will get a 10% discount for a limited time, so I'll leave that linked in the description and in the comment section below. So stylistically, Ederson is very similar to Ederson. Like the Brazilian, he's primarily a tenacious, tough tackling, ball-winning midfielder who also has the athleticism to carry the ball powerfully through the centre of the pitch. Now, he doesn't have the same sort of pace over longer distances as Ederson, but he's still pretty fast. But I would argue he's actually slightly better when it comes to receiving the ball in congested areas, having the technical ability and close ball control to twist and turn out of pressure before driving forward into the space. His passing certainly isn't at the level of someone like Angelo Stiller or Bruno Fernandes, but he does have the passing range to switch play and find runners in behind the back line when needed, as well as being an all-round efficient circulator of the ball, even if ball carrying is certainly his most effective way of progressing the ball forward. And we can see this here from his FB ref report, as he certainly isn't a high volume passer or someone who's going to dictate play from deep. But as you can see from his passes into the penalty area and his through balls, he is someone who's going to be more of a creative threat in the opposition's half than someone like Manuel Ugarte. But coming on to the possession section of his FB ref report over the past 365 days, and you can start to see why I've suggested him as an Ederson alternative, as he ranks between the 77th and the 82nd percentile range for his progressive carries, as well as his carries into the final third and penalty area, whilst also ranking in the 90th percentile for the volume of successful take-ons he's completed alongside that. Also, when you look at Ederson's defensive metrics, you can see that whilst he doesn't produce the sort of volume of defensive actions as someone like Ugarte, which not a lot of players are able to compete with, he is a higher volume tackler than Ederson. And unlike Ugarte, whose aggression and front foot defending style does lead to him having a lower percentage of dribblers tackled, Ederson ranks around the 75th percentile for both the volume of dribblers he has tackled as well as the percentage as well, showing that from a defensive point of view, Ederson is a nice blend between Ederson and Ugarte's styles. But for me as an Ederson alternative, Ederson is a pretty good option, because my whole reasoning for signing Ederson in the first place would be his recovery pace and his tackling ability in the rest defence, as well as his ability to transition the play through open space after a turnover through the centre, both of which I think Ederson can provide. And as I said for Ederson in that analysis video I did, which will be linked in the eye above in case you do want to check it out, I think Ederson would work well with Ugarte, due to his ability to shuffle out into wide areas, being able to race back and compete in the physical duels before putting in attack stopping sliding tackles, as well as having the necessary aggression, physicality and athleticism that would significantly improve United's ability to cover ground, press aggressively, stop attacks at source higher up the pitch, and also transition the attack quickly when the space is there. I don't think he's as good as Ederson, but if United could get him for between 15 to a maximum of £20 million, this would free up money to then go and sign another stylistically different central midfielder, someone like Angelo Stiller, who does have a release clause of around £33 million, which means we could probably get Ederson and Stiller for around the same price combined as what it it would cost to sign Ederson. Now whilst Boudaoui would be a fantastic cheaper alternative to Ederson, he may be somewhat of a stopgap. Someone who United signed for maybe 15 to 18 million pounds this summer, and then next summer we move him on for around 25 million pounds in order to raise funds for an upgrade. But there is someone else who United could potentially get on a free this summer who I think would actually come in and maybe be as good as Ederson, even though they aren't exactly stylistically the same. But before I tell you who that is, let me give you a brief analysis of some cheaper alternatives to Ederson who United could consider if Boudaoui or the player I'm going to mention aren't available. So Andy Diouf is Lens's 21-year-old French central midfielder, and whilst he isn't exactly the same stylistically as Ederson or Boudaoui, not having the same reading of the game, tackling ability or overall robustness in the centre of the pitch, he is a better ball carrier than both, resembling Moussa Dembele in how he's able to use his long frame, physicality, athleticism and quick footwork to weave and turn past players in the centre of the pitch before driving forward into open space. And we can see just how good he is at progressing the ball forward, as when compared against every other midfielder in Europe's top 5 leagues over the past 365 days, he ranks in the top 1 and 2% for his carries into the final third and his successful take-ons completed respectively, as well as a 97th and 92nd percentile for his progressive carries and carries into the final third. And if United wanted a central midfielder who can carry the ball into space, as well as someone who had the press resistance to receive the ball with his back to goal and twist and turn before driving out of pressure, Andy Diouf is not just a viable Ederson alternative, but a player who is actually better in that specific area. Now he is only 21 years old, so his game is not as refined as either Ederson or Boudaoui. Defensively he's okay, I wouldn't say he's a liability, but he lacks a reading of the game of Boudaoui and the 1v1 tackling ability of Ederson, and in general I wouldn't define him as a ball winner, more of a ball carrying box to box midfielder. Now in terms of his progressive passing, he's pretty good higher up the pitch, ranking highly for his passes into the penalty area and especially his through balls, having fairly good timing, vision and weight of pass when he's driving forward into the final third, and overall being a creative threat in and around the box. Now he certainly wouldn't provide the sort of recovery tackling ability in the rest defence as either Boudaoui or Ederson, but as a ball carrier he's probably as good as you could get for that price, as considering he cost Lens around £12 million when they signed him from Basel in 2023, I'd estimate that he could be attainable for between £18 to £20 million. The maximum I would pay is £22-23 million, although he wouldn't be an exact Ederson alternative, although considering that we could probably get Andy Diouf and Hicham Boudaoui for probably less than what Ederson would cost on his own, Andy Diouf is definitely someone that United should be considering because his ball carrying ability alone, to the level that Diouf possesses, is not just unique but also incredibly valuable in the modern game. But before I go any further, a quick reminder, if you do want to check out any of my articles or sign up for the in-game Instagram group chat, I'll leave my Patreon linked in the eye above, description, comment section, and on the end screen after the video. Now someone who I had considered was Frank Zambo Anguissa from Napoli, who up until about 2 weeks ago was coming to the end of his contract this summer, but Napoli have now triggered a 2-year extension in his current contract, which may seem to rule out Anguissa for United this summer, but there are reports that Anguissa is unhappy with not getting a new contract with an increase in salary, which could potentially lead to Anguissa becoming available for a cut price deal this summer, or maybe even available on a loan towards the end of the window as we saw with Osimhen. And so he would definitely be someone that I keep an eye out for, as whilst he wouldn't be an exact stylistic alternative to Ederson, he would bring the ball carrying ability and overall physicality and athleticism that United should be looking for. And so coming to the back end of the window, especially if he was available on a loan, it would be a deal I look to do. However, for me, Boudaoui is a standout alternative to Ederson, as I just don't see too many other stylistic fits who offer the ball carrying and dribbling ability in the centre of the park, or the athleticism and tenacious tackling ability that Boudaoui would provide for the price that he would cost. And so for me, if United don't have the budget to sign Ederson for £45 million plus, as well as other targets, or he just goes somewhere else, Boudaoui would be the alternative I go for. But even if Ederson was available, United could get Angelo Stiller, who has got a £33 million release clause, alongside Boudaoui for around what Ederson would cost on his own. So depending on the allocation of the budget, that may be a better alternative. So let me know what you think of Hicham Boudaoui and Andy Diouf in the comment section below. And if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to Dragon Jersey where you can use code Atlantis at checkout for a discount. And if you do want to read any of my articles on Patreon or sign up for the in-game Instagram group chat, I'll leave that linked on the end screen alongside another video now.